Learn more at Progressive.com. Mike mentioned the NBA, and that's where we're going to start as we go from A to Z.
From New York to L.A. and everywhere in between. From A to Z.
And from A to Z is brought to you by Merrill Guided Investing. Visit merrilledge.com/investing goals. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner, and Smith Incorporated, both a registered broker-dealer and investment advisor, member SIPC. All the oxygen in the NBA this weekend was taken up by the debut of James Harden, which couldn't have gone any better. A little triple-double action for him in his first foray in Brooklyn. There's another guy that had a triple-double over the weekend, Luka Doncic, 36, 16, and 15. Let me just say that again. 36, 16, and 15, though it came in a loss. And this is when you know you've got yourself a superstar. After that stat line, Doncic, not happy.
That's on me. The second half, I played terrible. And I think that's on me that game. I shouldn't, I would say I was being selfish a little bit because, I had 30 points in the first half. And that wasn't me in the second half. I got to do way better than that. And that's just on me. I shouldn't be doing this.
Jay, I love that.
No, look, the real issue for this team is the health of Kristaps Porzingis, will he be the player that everybody expected him to be, that all-star caliber player? And Luka Doncic is going to have these type of performances. He's single-handedly going to have to take this team and drag them into the playoffs. But for them to go to another level, I think also for Doncic to actually have a chance to win MVP, he's going to need help from Porzingis in a massive way.
Indeed. Doncic with his 29th career triple-double last night. Back to the NFL, the Rams, Sean McVay. Everything's on the table. After Saturday's loss to the Packers, McVay said about his starting quarterback, Jared Goff, quote, "He's our quarterback right now." And then here's what McVay said yesterday.
What I'm evaluating is everything that we do, Kevin. That includes the quarterback position, but that includes everything. And so that's where we're at. And I think it's important for, I was kind of saying, to be able to take a step back, catch our breath, be able to look at everything that the season encompassed and figure out the best way to create the most competitive situations at all spots, and what we can do to continue to take steps in the right direction. And that's not exclusive to the quarterback, but it's all encompassing to our entire roster.
Before, Key, we talk about the Rams offense, specifically the relationship between McVay and Goff and what might come next. We should mention the Rams. Everything's on the table, so McVay's going to have to hire a new defensive coordinator. The Chargers hired Brandon Staley to be their next head coach. He was, this past season, the Rams' DC. Okay, so Saturday, he's our quarterback right now. 24 hours later, everything's on the table. What do we make of this?
I think everything was always on the table. He's our quarterback for right now. This game that we're getting ready to play, he's our quarterback. But it's always been on the table. These conversations were going on throughout the course of the season, I'm sure, in private settings between Les Snead as well as Sean McVay and whoever else gets involved in making up that roster, because I'm assuming that most of the guaranteed money on Jared Goff's extension has probably been absorbed by now. So there's some flexibility and leeway to get out of it at this point in time if they choose to do so. Or maybe they want to light a fire underneath them. I mean, it's amazing to see that a guy just led a team to a Super Bowl 2 years ago, and then all of a sudden now he may be possibly being looked at as at being replaced. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen. Sean's got to look at everything along with Les Snead throughout the offseason to see what's available to them, not only at the quarterback position, but other positions that they need to take a look at.
Keith, when I look at Jared Goff, I see a guy that you said this multiple times, and we've been talking about this all year. You're waiting for him to take that next leap to be somewhat of a superstar. And granted, I give him a lot of credit for coming back off that thumb surgery. Did he play a phenomenal game? No. I think, if John Wolford doesn't get hurt, he's probably in that scenario. Sean McVay kind of made that apparent before he got injured and he was taken out of the game. But it's still a precarious situation. I think you let the quarterback go out next year. You make it an open competition to a degree. You say if you want it, they'll take it.
Well, it boils down, as I always say, it's going to boil down to the money. I don't care if it's Carson Wentz or Jalen Hurts. I don't care if it's John Wolford or Jared Goff. What are the numbers? What does the numbers look like in terms of guaranteed money? Jared Goff is more than capable of being an NFL quarterback. He's not a bum. but he hasn't given you the next step. And when you look at the playoff situation against Green Bay, he was overmatched going up against Aaron Rodgers. If there's a duel there, quarterback versus quarterback, he was way overmatched, Zubin. It just, he wasn't going to be able to duplicate with Aaron Rodgers no matter on any day.
Let me just ask you both this question, because you guys have both obviously played with the threshold of pain. And to Keith's point, the Goff extension was for 4 years, $134 million. At the time, it actually did make him the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. But as Kia said, whoever's up next will just take that mantle. But 4 years, 134. The only thing I want to question here, and you guys can take us inside the mind of a pro athlete. I mean, he was out there, to your point, played in the Super Bowl, and then had to play in this postseason a dozen days after injuring the thumb on his throwing hand at the quarterback position. I mean, doesn't that factor in somehow? I mean, you're not going to get optimal Jared Goff if he's got a banged up thumb on his throwing finger.
Well, I don't think any of the decisions that they would make going forward is predicated on the way that he played in the playoffs.
Okay.
I think it's going to be over the body of work.
More of a macro look.
Yeah, over the course of 2 seasons, right? I mean, they're not just going to say, oh, guy came back 2 weeks later, he didn't play well, we hate him. No, I hate him because in week 6, look what he did. Or week 8, look what I did.
I mean, and Sean McVay has came out with comments throughout the course of the season where he said, look, Jared Goff needs to be better, or quarterback needs to be better. I think it's pretty known what his expectations are, from a standard level of success with what he wants from his QB. The question is, coming into this offseason, can Jared Goff recover from his thumb surgery and play at a high level enough that will suit that for what Sean McVay wants his team to accomplish?
And the great thing about it, you got guys like Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is on his way to getting back to the Super Bowl for the second time in his career. This is the first time from a playoff standpoint that Aaron Rodgers has had home field advantage throughout the playoffs. He's hosting a home game. I'm sure the crowd will be increased. You got to look at what they did from an offensive standpoint, whether it was with Adams, whether it was Aaron Jones running the ball, but defensively, they stepped up to the plate. I mean, they sacked Jared Goff multiple times. Kenny Clark, I think, had 3 sacks. Big defensive tackle out of UCLA. They paid a bunch of money to this offseason. So when you look at what Green Bay has been able to do, it's going to be a great matchup against Tom Brady. I wouldn't call them both. Well, I guess you could call them both old heads going up against each other, right? Even though Brady's a little bit older than Aaron Rodgers, both from the same area up there in the Bay Area in California. That'll be a storyline I'm sure you'll dive into somewhere along the way, Zubin.
Indeed. We have Rodgers, no-cal. We have Brady, no-cal. Brady at 43. I think Rodgers is from Chico. Brady's from San Mateo. Rodgers is 37, and the reason that Rodgers says he can continue to play into his 40s is after what he watched Tom Brady do. A reminder, tune into Mike Greenberg's show, Greeny, which immediately follows our show, Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin on ESPN Radio. Today, Greeny reacts to divisional weekend and talks to former Ravens wide receiver Steve Smith Sr., Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin